Do you ever find yourself just in this constant cycle of work really hard, hustle, and then that leads to burnout? Your system crashes, you're sick, you rest, you recuperate, and then you just go repeat the pattern again and again and again. It is time to end this pattern of hustle and burnout and really get to a place where we're working from a place of flow and expansion, because you shouldn't be successful in your business, but bankrupt in your health or your relationships. And so how do we do that? Well, first of all, let's acknowledge that if we have time to get sick and rest, then you can create time to rest even before you get sick. Noticing the pattern of burnout of go, 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 do everything, put yourself last, and then get sick and need to rest. It's just a pattern. The good news is we can change a pattern. So it starts with the ability to identify that this is the pattern. And one of the most powerful ways to get out of that pattern is, first of all, we need to lay down a new pattern. And we do that by discovering what do you want. So you now know what you don't want. You don't want the burnout. You don't want the overwhelm. You don't want this being sick. So having that information is really good. But what do you want? Let's imagine you had time for yourself. You had time for self-care. Life felt a little bit more balanced. What would you be doing with that time? Is it weekends away? Is it having time to sit down and read a really good book? Is it spending time in nature? I have a client who loves to go to the zoo and photograph the baby animals. What do you want to do with your time? And I know if you're really deep into burnout, that question alone can send you into overwhelm because you feel like it's not possible. And sometimes we don't even want to dream it because it can make us sad that we're not having that experience now. But trust the process. We get so focused on what we don't want, we keep perpetuating that experience. So imagine if you did have that time freedom, what would you be doing? How would you feel? How would you be sleeping at night? How would you be waking up in the morning? Really creating that vision for the life that you want. I had an experience of burnout early on in my entrepreneurial journey where it did put me into the hospital. And I knew that if I kept on that same trajectory, well, I certainly wouldn't be successful in business, but my health was suffering, my relationships were suffering. I knew I had to do something different. And one of the things that I knew for myself is I didn't want to work evenings. I didn't want to work weekends. And so what did I want? I wanted to be able to walk my kids to the bus and tuck them in at night and feel rested on the weekends and go do fun things with the family. So what do you want to do with your time? What does that look like? And start dreaming it up. It always starts with the end in mind. Once you have that vision, and even before you have that vision, the other tool that is so powerful is the little micro moves that we can make. You're not going to transform your life overnight. We transform our life in the moment that we're in. And when you're in that burnout, usually our systems and our nervous system is so overloaded that we're in fight, flight, or freeze. And so we want to get back to a place where we're connected to our bodies, where we're in this rest, digest, create. And the best way to do that is by connecting to your breath. Your breath is one of your most powerful tools. It's always available to you. And here's the other good news is it's free. It's free. We could give so much gratitude to our subconscious mind that's breathing us, right? We don't have to consciously think about breath. And so we usually don't. But when we're headed for burnout, usually we're breathing really shallow, or we're tending to hold our breath and we're not having that full experience. So one of the best ways to breathe to help relax your body and your nervous system is just a nice, comfortable breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, as if you're breathing through a straw. And just doing that 3 times, just doing that for a minute, it will change your nervous system. It will help you feel more calm, more relaxed. Even though your to-do list hasn't changed, you'll start to change. And that's the thing to remember, is that before our external results change, we change that first on the inside. So your breath is a powerful way to interrupt that pattern and just helping you feel more calm, more relaxed. The other micro move that you can make is start scheduling joy. schedule fun, schedule play. And this doesn't need to be a week-long vacation, right? Sometimes that idea of I've got to take a whole week away, it's not available to us. But what would 10 minutes of joy look like? What would half a day of joy look like? What if you just blocked one day a month off? Start. That's the key. And so schedule joy in your life. Is it going for a nail appointment? Is it coffee with a friend? Is it kicking everybody out of the house so you have an empty house to yourself for a couple of hours? Start small, but the thing is to start. So many times we think, well, I'll do those things when I have the time. I'll do those things when I'm done this project or when I've got more money in the bank, and we delay our joy. And what happens? That leads to burnout. We get sick, and now your time off is spent in bed instead of doing the things that you want to be doing. So the key here is to get out ahead of it. Get out ahead of the burnout, intentionally breathing, intentionally creating those joy moments so it doesn't get to burnout stage where you're laid up for a week. Get out ahead of it and schedule that time off, schedule that fun. And to the part of you that's arguing that I don't have time for that, I can't do that, here's the thing. You have to make time for it, because in the absence of making time for it, the trajectory that you're on is simply not sustainable. And so before your body tells you to take a break, you tell your body you're going to take a break. Having structures and a system of support is so key in these moments. Chances are you know what you need to do. You know you should be putting yourself first. You know how important self-care is. So intellectually, you know these things, but you're running this pattern and it's really hard to get off that hamster wheel on your own. I had a client who, when he first came to me, said, I'm on this hamster wheel. I'm going to work. I'm coming home. I'm burnt out. He was looking for joy. He was looking for happiness. He wasn't feeling that fulfillment. He started looking for it outside of himself. He joined a hockey team. He joined a band. That didn't do it. So he joined another hockey team and just perpetuated the same pattern. And when he finally reached out, he said the thing that's been missing is the accountability and the structure of support. It is hard to see on our own, and it's hard to break those patterns. So even though you might be thinking coaching and mentorship just feels like one more thing to do and to add to your plate, and your plate is already full, by adding coaching, by adding mentorship, by adding that structure of support, that's the thing that's going to create the new pattern and the freedom. So yes, at first it might feel like one more thing to do, but what will happen is you'll start to open up and to lay down those new patterns to really move from burnout to being more in flow energy. And that client now is living his best life. He said the other day, I'm just living from this place of deep feeling of fulfillment. And I believe that's what we all want, just to wake up in the morning and feel fulfilled and have a sense of passion and purpose. So if you know that you're on a trajectory towards burnout and you could use some help to get off of that hamster wheel and to really lay down a new pattern, schedule a call with myself, somebody from my team. Let us help you really get greater clarity on that vision and identify some of the things that you could be doing differently to move into a more expansive experience. Book that call to see what coaching and mentorship could look like in your life. You are more powerful than you know. Your vision matters. The work in the world that you're doing matters. And you will be able to make such a greater impact when you are feeling full up, when you're feeling like your best self. So take care of yourself. Use some of these tips and tools to help break that burnout pattern and really step into a life that you would love. I'm Stacey Berger, transformational coach in life and business. Here is to you living a life that you love.